So Odysseus escapes the Sirens in the Odyssey, or does he? In Homer's Odyssey, Odysseus survives the Siren Song unscathed, but I don't think Christopher Nolan believes he ever truly escaped it, even if it initially appears that way in his film. In the film, although Odysseus does not pay the cost with his life, he does leave owing the Sirens a debt, and here's why. In Homer's Odyssey, the Sirens are depicted as revealing truth and divine wisdom through their songs, luring sailors to forget about their families and steer toward the island to their deaths. What's striking, though, is that Homer never actually tells us what Odysseus hears. We know he listens, but the content of the song remain a mystery. In the film, however, we discover that for Odysseus, the truth he hears in the song includes all the promises he failed to keep, and it tells him that he doesn't really want to go home. The film later suggests that these are not two separate revelations, but one. Odysseus does not want to return home because he cannot escape the guilt of the promises he failed to keep. And although Odysseus does not steer his ship into the island, he carries this truth with him when he later crashes his ship, washes the shore on Calypso's island, and proceeds to forget about his family. In a way, this fulfills the fate the Siren Song had already set in motion. By revealing what Odysseus hears in the Siren Song, Nolan highlights the true cost of listening to it, or more specifically, the cost of Odysseus' ego that drives him to attempt withstanding it. But the real significance of Odysseus' revelation doesn't become clear until later in the film, when he finally confesses his guilt over the destruction of Troy to Penelope. Here, Nolan is setting the scene for Odysseus' confession by quietly tracing it back to the true source of his guilt, his ego. The same hubris that led him to victory in the Trojan War by devising the Trojan Horse strategy is the same pride that drives Odysseus to challenge himself to bear the Siren Song and live. The Siren sequence, therefore, becomes more than another obstacle on his journey home. It functions as another manifestation of the flaw that drove him to commit the atrocities in war that now haunt him. When the Sirens reveal to Odysseus that he no longer wants to return home, they expose the psychological consequence of that pride, a truth he is not yet ready to confront but cannot also outrun. On Calypso's island, the truth begins to shape his actions as he forgets his family and abandons his desire to go home. Another divergence from Homer's text is Nolan's take on the Lotus Flower and Calypso's island. In the original text, these are two separate storylines. The Lotus Eaters appear early in Odysseus' journey, offering some of his men the Lotus Flower, causing them to lose all desire to return home. And later, on Calypso's island, there is no Lotus Flower, and Odysseus is not in a stupor like in the film. Instead, he longs for Penelope, constantly grieving and calling out for her. In the film, however, Nolan merges these episodes into a single arc. We learn that Odysseus has willingly been eating the Lotus Flower on Calypso's island, keeping himself tethered there. I think the film combines these plot points to show that the effects of the Siren Song do not end when Odysseus sails away. It's almost as if realizing that he does not truly want to go home becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Rather than immediately fighting to return, he remains on Calypso's island, numbed by the lotus, living out the very temptation the Sirens first exposed. In doing so, he loses 7 years on the island, nearly costing him his home, his family, and ultimately his life. Only after emerging from his trance does Odysseus finally confront the consequences of his own ego, realizing not only how much time the Siren Song has cost him, but also the deeper truth it first revealed, that the same pride which brought him glory in Troy had ultimately become the source of his greatest burden, his guilt. This is evidenced by the timing of his admission of guilt to Penelope, which notably comes not in the immediate aftermath of the Siren Song, but only after he has lived through the consequences of the truth it revealed. In this sense, Nolan retroactively redefines Odysseus' survival of the Sirens as a commentary on the cost of his pride. The Sirens do not kill Odysseus in a single moment. Instead, they leave him carrying a truth that slowly unravels him over the next 7 years. By reimagining the Sirens in this way, Nolan fundamentally changes the Odyssey. Rather than serving as a passing temptation, the Sirens become the catalyst for the psychological journey that defines Nolan's Odysseus, revealing that his greatest obstacle to returning home was never the voyage itself, but his pride. That's all I have for today, but thank you so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe and comment below what you thought of the Odyssey and the Siren Song sequence.